Imagine a stage where polite Victorian masks crack open, where comfortable illusions explode, and where the audience suddenly realizes that drama isn't what's happening on the stage, it's happening inside them. That is the revolution created by Henrik Ibsen and George Bernard Shaw. Before them, theatre was entertainment. After them, theatre became interrogation. Ibsen draws out the skeletons of the society out of their closet. Marriage, morality, heredity, hypocrisy, forcing us to confront the truths we even hide from ourselves. And Shaw turns the theatre into a battlefield of ideas, where class debate, war, gender collide in a razor sharp debate. They don't give us heroes, they give us humans. They don't give us answers, but they give us questions that refuse to leave. Today, we are entering the minds of two playwrights who turned the world into fire. One with realism, the other with reason. And together, they changed drama forever. Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you are all doing well. Welcome to yet another episode of UGC Net Preparation. I am Dr. Riya Dattu and I will be your instructor. So without further ado, let us begin. When Ibsen began writing in the mid 19th century, European drama was dominated by melodrama, sentimentality, and well made play. Structures that emphasized on contrived plots, happy endings, and superficial moral sacrifices. Ibsen broke from these conventions, replacing them what he called the drama of ideas. His plays placed the characters under psychological and moral dilemmas, forcing them to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves and about the society around them. Ibsen's early works, historical and poetic plays, were steeped in nationalism and Norse mythology. However, they did not give him the international recognition he sought. His transformation came through the shift to prose realism in 1870s. This shift was not merely stylistic, it was ideological. Ibsen began to see drama as a platform for social truths, to expose hypocrisy, to critique institution, and to encourage individual introspection. The publication of The Pillars of the Society marked the beginning of this shift. But it was with The Doll's House Ibsen revolutionized the Western theatre. In this play, Ibsen brings the audience into the domestic world of Nora Helma, a seemingly frivolous housewife who eventually discovers that her marriage rests upon illusion. The iconic final moment, Nora shuts the door behind as she leaves her husband and children, created shockwaves. It was not merely personal rebellion. It was a moral indictment of the social order that denied the women individuality, intellectual autonomy, legal identity. Ibsen's realism was not only psychological, it was also social. He pioneered what came to be known as the problem play, in which drama inquires into the social issues such as morality, hypocrisy, gender norms, environmental disaster, religious hypocrisy, and the corruption embedded into political institutions. In Ghosts, Ibsen tackles another taboo topic by addressing hereditary syphilis, a symbol of moral disease that passed down from one generation to another. Mrs. Alving struggles to free her son from the sins of his father, only to discover that heredity and social convention has already destroyed him. The ghosts here are not supernatural, they are inherited beliefs, prejudices, and social structures. In An Enemy of the People, Ibsen critiques the tyranny of the majority. Dr. Stockman discovers that the town's spa water is contaminated. But because the economic success of the town depends on the spa, Dr. Stockman is branded as the enemy. The play explores the idea how truth becomes difficult when it threatens to destroy comfort and capitalism. Stockman's insistence that the strongest man is he who stands most alone encapsulates Ibsen's vision of moral courage. After the realistic play came Ibsen's phase of symbolist plays, where he moved inward, exploring complex psychological topics. Plays like The Wild Duck, Roshmashlom, and Master Builder delves into the conflict between idealism and reality, the destructive power of illusion, and the crippling weight of guilt. In Hedda Gabler, Ibsen gives the stage one of the most iconic female characters, a woman trapped with social expectations, unable to find her own voice, repressing her desire, and unable to find her true autonomy and agency. Hedda's manipulation, cruelty, desperation, and finally suicide are the products of an intelligent mind suffocated by the patriarchal system. Ibsen refuses to moralize. Instead, he foregrounds the psychological complexity of human minds. Thus, Ibsen's contribution lies not only in his themes but also in his dramatic method. The use of subtext, realism, and everyday dialogue, tightly constructed structure where the past weighs upon the present, the stage becomes a moral laboratory. So, if Ibsen created the modern drama of morality and realism, George Bernard Shaw has created the modern drama of argument. While he admired Ibsen, he believed that drama should not merely portray life. It should explain it, also question it, and provoke the audience into an ideological debate. Shaw approached drama with the mind of a critic, the precision of a philosopher, and the humor of a comic satirist. Before he became a playwright, he was a music and dramatic critic. He wrote some of the earliest and most influential critics of Ibsen, particularly the quintessence of Ibsenism, where he positioned Ibsen as a rebel against social hypocrisy. Shaw absorbed Ibsen's principles but infused them with his own style. Witty dialogue, intellectual comedy, and didactic purpose. Where Ibsen exposed problems, Shaw insisted on solutions. His plays urged the audience not just to understand the problem, but also to recognize the injustice and transform the society. Shaw was a committed socialist and a founding member of the Fabian Society. His plays therefore reflect ideological commitments, critique of capitalism, class privilege, and the institution of marriage, gender inequality, and the irrationality of the war. However, Shaw's socialism was never heavy-handed. He used humor as a Trojan horse to smuggle ideas into the audience. In Major Barbara, Shaw examines the paradoxes of charity that is funded by the profits of weapon manufacturing. Andrew Undershaft, a munitions manufacturer, argues that poverty, not war, is the real crime. Barbara, who works for the Salvation Army, discovers that her organization is funded by morally corrupt businesses. Shaw forces us to face the uncomfortable reality that ethical purity is often intertwined with economic necessity. Perhaps Shaw's the most famous play, Pygmalion, dramatizes the transformation of Eliza Doolittle, a Cockney flower girl, into a woman who can pass as a duchess. But Shaw's purpose is far deeper than the fairy tale logic that the later adaptations like My Fair Lady emphasize. He uses the story to critique class prejudices, the artificiality of social distinction, and the patriarchal belief that the woman's identity is shaped by a man. Eliza's powerful refusal to return to Higgins marks her growth not merely in language and words but also in selfhood. In Man and Superman, Shaw moves from social drama to philosophical ground. The central idea is that the human evolution is driven by a creative energy, what Shaw calls the life force, which uses individuals to fulfill larger biological and social purposes. Anne Whitefield pursues Jack Tanner, not out of romance, but because life force wants them to create a superior human being. Shaw merges Nietzschean philosophy and Darwinian evolution, as well as satirical wit, to craft a drama that is entertaining but also deeply intellectual. In Arms and the Man, Shaw dismantles the idea of war, especially romanticizing the war, through the character of Captain Bluntschli, who carries chocolate instead of bullets. Shaw presents war as irrational and heroic bravado as foolish. His comic tone masks the serious critique of nationalism and military mythology. Unlike Ibsen, whose play build with emotional tension, Shaw builds with verbal duels. His characters often represent conflicting ideologies. They spar, argue, and interrogate each other and question social institutions. Shaw's prefaces, often longer than the plays themselves, articulate his intellectual positions and clarify his social purposes. Shaw famously said, I dream of a society where men think. His plays are a training ground for that society. While both writers are the founders of modern drama, they differ in method, tone, and dramatization. Ibsen's realism is psychological and emotional, rooted in everyday life. Shaw's realism is intellectual and argumentative. Whereas Ibsen gives us internal conflicts of the characters, Shaw gives us intellectual conflicts of ideas. Both dramatists revolutionized the depiction of women. Nora, Hedda, Mrs. Alving reveal the emotional upheaval caused by patriarchal systems. Shaw's heroines, Eliza, Barbara, Anne, show how women navigate social and ideological constraints. Shaw's women are more articulate and self aware. Ibsen's women are more emotionally profound. Ibsen is tragic, subtle, and psychological. Shaw is witty, ironic, and discursive. Ibsen's endings are often bleak. Shaw's endings often leave audience with intellectual possibilities. For Ibsen, drama reveals the truth. For Shaw, drama teaches the truth. Ibsen's goal is introspection, Shaw's goal is social change. Together, Shaw and Ibsen changed the destiny of drama. Ibsen freed drama from convention, forcing society to look into the mirror of realism. Shaw made drama think, challenging the audience to examine their own thoughts, beliefs, and political agendas. Modern theatre, from Arthur Miller and Tennessee Williams to Brecht, Osborne, Fugard, and Carol Churchill, stands on the foundation laid by these two giants. The psychological realism of Death of a Salesman, the social critique of Look Back in Anger, the ideological theatre of Brecht, all bear the unmistakable imprint of Shaw and Ibsen. In studying them, we merely do not study two playwrights. We study the birth of modern mind on the stage. So that is my lecture on Henrik Ibsen and George Bernard Shaw. I hope it was helpful, and for more videos like that, keep an eye on my channel. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.